right. And we are now live on YouTube as well. All right, everybody, come on in. Tap on that screen. Let's get the likes going so it sends it out to more people. We're talking about autism today. I have a special guest that's coming in. Destiny, hello. Yes, you're early again. This is wonderful. Let's see. Yeah, I have a special guest coming in today. You have a blizzard, up to 30 inches of snow. Remind me where you're at. Where are you located? Massachusetts. Oh my goodness. Up to 30 inches of snow is crazy. Legacy Unleashed. My daughter can sing nursery rhymes, knows her ABCs and 1, 2, 3, but can't tell me what she needs. I have been there. I have been exactly there. That is so common, so normal for people with autism. You get a little bit of this. I don't know how old is your daughter, Legacy? What you end up seeing is some of this hyperlexia sometimes where they fixate on things that have patterns and routine, and the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s are very pattern oriented, and folks with autism sometimes can really enjoy doing that. So thank you all for coming in. We are just barely starting. It usually takes about 5 minutes before we get enough people. We get 1 to 200 people in here usually. Yesterday was wild. Hello, Mallory. How are you?
Good.
Oh, good. I can hear you. Can you hear me good? Audio's working fine.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Mallory, yesterday's live was crazy. We had at one point 550 people in here. We had more likes, more tapping on the screen than I've ever seen. And it was just absolutely nuts yesterday. Hoping we get a few people in today. So Mallory, do you want to introduce yourself or do you want me to introduce you to the people coming in?
You go ahead, Kylan.
You want me to?
Yeah. You might know what they care about more.
Yeah, that's good. So Mallory is an expert on little ones. So she is a board certified behavior analyst. When you talk about board certified behavior analysts, most of the BCBAs you'll meet have been certified within the past, 1 to 5 years. Mallory, when did you get certified?
Well, first in 2012.
2012. So she has been a BCBA longer than I have. She is incredible. She is an expert, a true expert, especially when it comes to little ones. When it comes to the toddlers, if you have a toddler who you're having a hard time connecting with, or you're having a hard time communicating with, or getting any form of communication out of them, Mallory is an expert. And so what we're going to be doing today is letting people come on up and ask questions. Usually I take the first few minutes to just answer some questions that you guys are putting in the chat, and then we'll start inviting people up. I need to change the format of this. I don't like the, what is it called? The change layout for fix layout. There we go. Okay. Meme says it only exists in America. What do you mean? What only exists in America? You're saying autism only exists in America? Is that what Meme is trying to say? That's silly. That's silly because 50% of my followers and people that are up on this live aren't from the United States. So, what Elizabeth says, what do you do to introduce foods? My 2.5-year-old level 2 boy pretty much only eats bacon and snacks. Oh, I love bacon and snacks. Mallory, what would you tell a parent who their kid is only eating bacon and sometimes some snacks?
I think what I would say is that's not uncommon. And I think first I would start with, hold on, what happened here? Get me out of here. Okay. I think that it's very common, and there's a couple things here. Number one, if they're eating, that's good. So let's just start there. Let's be grateful that they like bacon. High protein. Could be worse.
Yeah, it could be worse.
could be worse. Second of all, kids anywhere from age, when they start eating, when they first start eating around 1 up until honestly age 8, it's really common for them to go through really picky stages and to have really specific foods they like. Like this is common in just, again, like typical development across the board. Then you add autism on top of it, and it can take what would otherwise be really typical and make it extreme, right? So now you have autism, and now that stage of pickiness might last a year, 2 years. It might get to the point where it's really hard as a parent, because I worked with a client once that would only eat mashed potatoes from Church's Chicken. And so mom even tried buying a bunch of Church's Chicken containers and making mashed potatoes and putting them in the container, and it didn't work. And you would not eat them. It had to be the actual mashed potatoes from Church's Chicken. And so it can be taxing on families. It is. I think the best advice I can say is, number one, you have to, when it comes to eating, a lot of times with kids on the spectrum, it's a really great way for them to have control. And if they have skill deficits, or there's a lot of aspects of their life they don't have control over, you're going to see it come up in eating, because we can't force children to eat. Even if we get something in their mouth, you cannot force someone to swallow.
I'm curious, of the 130 people in here, how many of you, if you have autism, talk about yourself, but if you're a parent, your child, how many of you have children with difficulty with eating? Put eating in the chat if your child struggles with eating. I'm curious how common this is here. Okay, we're seeing a lot of people here. Mallory's spot on with what she's talking about. Yes, it's perfectly normal, but the second thing is, it's not something that you can beat out of them. And by beat out of them, I mean that this old school strategy of like, you eat what I make or else you go to bed hungry. You can't do that. You can't do that with kids that are picky eaters, especially if those it's gotten to the point where it's considered ARFID. At that point, I know of children that have refused to eat so much that they've had to have a G tube put in place. And so, like, if all they'll eat is bacon and snacks, well, by golly, bacon and snacks it is. And let's go slowly and start increasing the variability little by little. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, Mallory. I wanted to see how big of a deal this was for everyone. Curious.
You're great. I think that's kind of the gist of it. But I also think that one thing to just know is take the pressure off yourself as a parent. Remove the control battle. So if you're, again, like Kylan said, if you're like, first you have to eat this, then you can have dessert, and it's not working and you guys are all stressed, like, let go of the control. And then also just exposure. I don't remember the specific examples, but there's research out there that tells you how many times a child should be exposed to a new food before they're even willing to maybe experiment with it. And it's a really high number. It's not like 3 times and now they're interested. It's like 50 sometimes.
Wow.
So every time you make food, if you're making broccoli, just put broccoli out on the table. Maybe it's on their plate, maybe it's not on their plate, but put it on the table. You might have to do that 52 times before maybe one day they're willing to try it, experiment it, touch it, And so I think just continue presenting choices. Know that they may, or it's going to be a while, maybe never, that they're interested. That's okay.
Slow process for
but
food.
It helps them be less aversive to seeing the foods or smelling the foods. And then take away the control, and consult with a dietitian, because I have had clients where, like, getting the right calories was difficult. I worked with a client that drank chocolate milk only. That was it. There was not a solid food he would consume. And we had to consult with a dietitian about how could we get him more nutrients and what that would look like. And we started with just even working on baby food, and he started eating baby foods, and that was a big deal. Then eventually we moved to chunkier purees. It can be really involved. There is support out there.
Yeah. I'm seeing some other questions. Someone asked, how do we detox our kids? One thing I want to point out here with the detoxing, this is for TX who asked this question. I want you to know that, like, I see you, and I see that you are a parent who wants to do everything you can for your child. But there's some misinformation out there, you guys. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a theory about the cause of autism where, and this came out in like the 90s, where they say that kids with autism, the problem is not their brain. The problem is that their gut has a leak in it, and all the heavy metals tend to leak out of their gut into their bloodstream and into their brain. And so now kids with autism have to detox. And so what that leads parents to do is to do one of two things. One is put so much effort into extremely rigid diets, which is so hard to do with kids with autism, that it does not benefit the child as much as you may think. But the second thing is far more dangerous, and that's chelation therapy, which still goes on today. I read a study the other day saying that 1 in 15 children with autism have gone through chelation therapy at some point in their life. And what chelation therapy is it's medicine that strips the heavy metals from your blood. And you take this medicine and it gets rid of your, all heavy metals going on in your body. The problem with that is your blood and your body, you need heavy metals. And so these are things like zinc, things like iron. And kids who go through chelation therapy, it's so dangerous, quite often it ends up in the child being hospitalized because of iron deficiencies. And so you really have to be careful with this stuff. And just the premise behind detoxing your kid because they have autism is really a dangerous way of talking, because it implies that autism is a toxin in the body. It's a disease that is able to be cleared out of the system, when that's not at all what autism is. Autism is a disability. It's the way that the brain was developed in utero. It's not something you catch after you're born. All right, let's look at some other questions. Mallory, are you seeing any other questions here that look?
I saw one that someone asked, what's the difference between autism and ADHD? And I thought that might be one we could touch on quickly, because there can be a lot of overlap.
Do you have a better mic,
Yeah.
Mallory? You're pretty quiet. I don't know if she's quiet for everybody. Maybe it's just my computer. I need to turn up the volume, but
Let me try. Let me see if I can put let me put my headphones on. Why don't you
no
move
worries.
on to something else, and then I'll see.
Yeah, and then jump in. We can talk about ADHD and stuff.
Okay.
That's great. For everyone new that's coming in, let me introduce this live. Let me introduce a little bit about what we do. My name is Kylan Heiner. I'm a father of a 3.5-year-old diagnosed with autism. I'm also the father of a 1.5-year-old that last week my daughter, who's 1.5 years old, got diagnosed with autism. So I'm living this world, you guys, and I need a village. And so a few weeks ago, I started doing these lives. I started doing TikTok, and now I'm on YouTube. I'm streaming on YouTube at the same time. And you guys are my village. I have learned that there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I'm a board-certified behavior analyst. I've worked with people with autism since 2013. And currently I'm the CEO of a company in Utah that provides autism services throughout the state. So that's a little bit about my background. I'm not on the spectrum myself, as far as I know. But autism is my whole life. I quite often you'll find me at the Utah State Capitol. I'm advocating strongly, protesting, all of that for people with disabilities. That's right where I am. Okay, we have Jay here who says she's a COTA. That's a Certified Occupational Therapist Assistant. Welcome in. I'm glad you're here. Hit me a follow. I do go live every single day about this time of the day, 12 p.m. Eastern time, for a couple of hours. And so that's where we are. Thank you for being here. We got a good following today. Yesterday, we already have 5,000 likes, you guys. This is wonderful. Keep on tapping the screen. It gets the word out to more people. And we're going to be answering questions. We also have Mallory on here today with us. Mallory is an expert in in ABA, especially as it relates to early childhood development. If you have a 1-year-old, if you have a 2-year-old, or if you have a 3-year-old or 4-year-old, and you are wondering if they have autism, if you're wondering how to support them, if you're wondering how to get them to start communicating even just a little bit, that is what Mallory's expertise is. So feel free to ask questions. We'll bring some guests up here and there. But really, me and Mallory are just answering some questions today. Autism Good Dad says, did you vaccinate your kids? Yep, I did. Why do you ask? What does that have to do with autism? Just curious. Okay, Kitty says, how can I tell if my 6-month-old has autism? Kitty, wow, you are asking some great questions. You're a parent, you have a 6-month-old, and you're wondering if they have autism. The first thing that I'll say is that development looks different for every kid. But it was around that time that I started seeing the earliest signs for my child. If you are an autism parent, put in the chat the earliest signs that you saw. How old was your child when you started noticing signs, and what were those first signs? I want to hear. Put it in the chat. This is to help Kitty out. She has a 6-month-old wondering about signs of autism. It's too young to get diagnosed. You can get diagnosed as early as 18 months. I've heard some as early as 14 months, but really it's typically 18 months is the bottom, the youngest that you typically see. So.
Can you hear me better, Kylan?
Oh yeah, that's so much better.
Can I speak a little bit on 6-month-olds?
Please. Before that, I just need to touch on Autism Good Dad, who says the aluminum in the vaccines. Again, what does that have to do with autism? What does that have to do with autism? I'm not understanding the connection here. Stick around. I'll talk about vaccinations later because I think I know where you're going, but it's just kind of a silly thing. So go ahead, Mallory.
So I just want to tell you guys that 6 months, if you're concerned, like Kylan said, it's too early to get a diagnosis, but it's not too early to start working on some things, just as the caregiver, just as the parent. And so one thing I would say is really look at their motivation, watch their eyes and see what they're motivated by. What are they looking at and what are they engaging in? And if you notice that they're playing with a bunch of toys, whatever it could be, or any sort of item, if you notice that when they're playing with that item, they're not ever checking in with you or looking up at your face, or maybe not very often, that could be something that could later indicate a flag for autism. Again, doesn't mean it is autism. This is like very minimal. You have to realize that a 6-month-old could still be this way and not have autism. But one thing I would do is it's really going to come down to their joint attention, which is just the way they share engagement. Can you still hear me, Kylan?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's breaking up.
No,
yeah. Okay.
I hear you great.
The way they share a moment with you as a caregiver. So 6-month-olds are usually very tuned into faces. And so they're watching your face. They're looking at you when they see something new or exciting in the environment. They see it, and then they're looking at your face to see how you're reacting. And so that's a big thing that they'll look at when they do pursue a diagnosis, when they do testing. So if you notice with your 6-month-old that that's not really happening, like maybe, you're on a walk and a dog starts barking and they look at that dog and then they don't look at your face to see how you respond to it, then you might want to start doing something I call joint activity routines. Throwing it out there, I'll put it in the chat in a little bit. They're called JARS, joint activity routines. It's from the Early Start Denver model. You can read about this. You can find it online. You can find YouTube videos of how to do it. And basically, it's just getting into a back and forth game with your child. So they do something, you mimic it, and then you pause. And you see if they do it again to see if you do it. And you mimic it, and you mimic it. And then you try to get back and forth. So you do it, they do it. You do it, they do it. And then you might add something new and see if then they'll stop and imitate the new thing you did. And just work on that. And that will really kind of shift their attention to your face, which is important for development.
Love that. I love that. Mallory, this is why we bring you on. Such good advice. At 6 months, I think a lot of times parents are like, oh no, are they doomed? Are they doomed with the
Right.
autism, or like, are they going to
Right.
be okay? And Mallory's approach is like, well, it's too early to tell, but here are some things that you should be working on with any child, whether they're
Right.
autistic or not. They need to be able to have that joint attention, and
Yeah.
here's how you work on some of those social skills. And yeah, that's great advice. Thank you, Mallory. Let me touch on the vaccination stuff. I'm genuinely curious on this. Okay, there are so many people that think vaccinations cause autism. If that is you in the chat, if you think vaccinations cause autism, put vaccine or vaccination in the chat. I really want to know. If you think vaccines cause autism, put vaccines in the chat. It's just something I think it's good for us to look at, because I do think. Okay, there are a few. I will say I'm seeing a lot more no's. I do think that I think it's a vocal minority who believe this. I really do. Not a whole lot of people still believe that vaccines cause autism, but the ones that do are pretty vocal about it. Let me explain a little bit, okay, about the autism and vaccine situation. And again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not trained on all the risks with vaccines. However, I do consider myself to be quite a expert on autism, and so I may not be able to speak on all risks associated with vaccines, but I can tell you with 100% certainty that we have zero evidence that vaccines are even correlated with autism. And let me explain how we know this. And the first thing is, if you have a child with autism, for those of you that don't believe vaccines cause autism, I want to put you in the shoes of someone who does, okay? Because what really happens here, and I've lived through this with my daughter, is regressive autism is so scary, where you have a child who is responding to her name, who is starting to pick up on words, is progressing and appearing to be neurotypical, and then around 12 to 18 months, you start seeing regression. That is hard. That is hard. You start seeing, feeling like you're losing the child that you knew, and your brain does what it wants to do, and it tries to find an answer. It tries to find what is the risk, right? We are predisposed to do this, of try to find what is the problem, what is making this happen, and injecting a child with vaccines seems so unnatural, and it happens around the same time. It has to be associated with it, right? That's how a lot of people think, and I don't think that you are like your experience is valid and how you feel is valid. But I want to encourage you to take a look at the data behind this. Okay, if you truly believe that autism's cause vaccines cause autism, if you truly believe that vaccines cause autism, what you have to believe is that there are tens of thousands of people and scientists in on a conspiracy to hide it, because of the robust amount of studies across the globe on autism and vaccines. Simon says, wish you and yours all the best, but correlation is important. I don't know, but it is compelling. Okay, so is there a correlation? Correlation is not causation, but is there a correlation that vaccines cause autism? No, there's not even a correlation that vaccines cause autism. There are anecdotes that vaccines cause autism, but correlation is a statistical metric, okay? Correlation is a statistical metric, and when you look at millions of kids, which there are dozens of studies that do this, they look at millions of kids and millions of vaccination schedules, and there is zero difference between vaccinations there's zero indication that vaccines lead to autism. And this is not something that's up for negotiation. Autism Good Dad is asking if I know about the lawsuit. I mean, anyone can sue anyone, but I'm wondering what data. Autism Good Dad, do you have a study? Do you have a study that says vaccines cause autism? I need to know. If you do, please send it to me. If you have a study, and you can do a study. Did you know that you are able to do a study? You are able to go and do a study. You could reach out to your local university. You could go and reach out and go through their IRB and do a study, and you're able to do this and be the one who is not being biased, right? You just have to look at the data behind it, you guys. Again, we have like 10 people in here that believe it out of the 300. And so those of you who do believe that autism is caused by vaccines, you're definitely the minority in the world. You're ignoring what the studies say. And yeah. So I'm very open to sending me the research, peer-reviewed study on vaccines and autism. So quite often what's brought up is heavy metals, and the heavy metals, that theory is not held up. That theory that heavy metals causes autism is not held up. People with autism do not have any more heavy metals in their body than their neurotypical peers. So, Kimmy brought up a good point. Maybe vaccines do cause autism because vaccines cause people to live too long. One of the leading risk factors of environmental risk factors of autism is parental age. So maybe in that sense, parents are living too long because of vaccines, and parental age is impacting the risk associated with autism. That's funny. All right. Who would you go to get diagnosed? Okay, Capolini. Very good question. So when the way this usually progresses is your pediatrician has to do an autism screening at 18 months and at 24 months. At those checkups, they usually do the MCHAT. And when they do the MCHAT, they usually are able to identify up to 95% of cases of autism just using that screener. But your pediatrician can't give you a diagnosis. That's just like a red flag of, okay, it's time to go and get an evaluation. And so then they're going to refer you to someone. Now, this is very important. Please listen to this. They are going to send you a referral to go get your evaluation, and most likely they're going to send you to somewhere that has a long wait list because they send all their people there. I don't want you to settle on a long wait list. If you have more than 6 months of a wait list, you need to find somewhere else to get on a wait list. So if you don't have to be able to get an evaluation, you actually don't have to have a pediatrician's referral usually. You can just call up a psychologist who does autism testing and see what their wait lists are. When I got my son diagnosed, I called about 40 different places to see who had the shortest wait list. So, Nia says, I was sent to the regional center. I'm guessing you're in California, and it took a year to get my daughter diagnosed. Yeah, that's a long time. That's a long time, and that's a lot of early intervention that you miss out on. All right, you guys, if you are in the guest box, we're going to start accepting some guests. If you're in the guest box, it's because you have a question for me and Mallory. And the questions that we're looking for today mostly are about little kids, about 1, 2, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and how to get them to learn to talk, how to help with developmental concerns. That is Mallory's expertise and the questions that we want to answer today. And so if you're in that guest box, if you're not asking about, an early intervention situation, please hop out. because those are the questions we're going to be kind of going through today. Just a little bit of an introduction to what we're doing. We got a lot of people on here. My name is Kylan. I live in Utah. I have a 3.5-year-old child with autism. I have a 1.5-year-old child with autism who was just diagnosed last week. I have been a board certified behavior analyst for a while. I've worked with people with autism since 2013. And currently I'm the CEO of a autism services company in the state of Utah. And so I don't know everything about autism, and I say I don't know quite often, and we learn together on here. This is also a supportive environment, positive vibes only. And so we support each other. That's why when we talk about, you'll never hear me name call or anything, I'm passionate about that vaccine stuff, but I'm also extremely understanding of why parents believe it. And it's a heartbreaking reason, to be honest, of the regression. So just please understand that this is a support, a safe space for people with autism, for people that want to learn about autism, for people that have children with autism. So if you have a young child and you have a question, we're going to start bringing up some guests. Mallory, anything you want to say before we start bringing up some guests?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Hello, Jade. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Oh, good. Where are you calling in from?
The UK.
Oh, wonderful. And what question do you have for us?
I want to really learn more about how I can help my son, who's non-verbal, try and, get as many words as I can, and how I can actually help him in try and be more communicative. Yeah, I can't speak.
Yeah, you said it. Communicative.
Got it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your son. How old is he?
Yeah.
He's 2, nearly 3.
Great. Does he have a diagnosis of autism? I know the UK, there's a bit of a wait list.
There is a wait list.
And I heard they
it's
stopped referring people to the wait list in some parts. Is that true?
Yeah, they sometimes you have to wait for the wait list, and if they are severely showing signs of it, they will just go straight past the wait list and get a diagnosis a lot sooner. Also, our schools also offer assessments, but they're recommended not to do that anymore.
Okay. So you got a 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old, and just know I'm right here with you. I have a 3-year-old. He's 3.5, and right then when he was 2, turning 3, very little communication. So where is your son at right now? Does he have any words? Is he echoing what you're saying? What's his language at right now?
No words. He does watch, like if you're singing or if you're telling a story, he will watch your lips move.
Great.
He will sometimes put your hand on your mouth to feel like the vibrations. But no words or anything like that. It's just like screeching and screaming.
Yep. Okay. So first thing first, you are going to order online a book. It's a short read. It's an easy read. It's called PRT Pocket Guide.
It's in my bio, by the way.
Is it in your bio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go to my Amazon list. It's in there. I don't know exactly how that thing works. I don't know that I set it up correctly. I honestly don't know. I think some creators make money on stuff like that. I don't know that I set it up to do that. But I just
but it's
things
there.
we talk about a lot. It's there. So yeah.
Yeah. It's PRT Pocket Guide. You can get it on Amazon. Again, an easy read for any caregiver. You don't have to be like a professional to read it or understand it. But the premise of it is going to teach you really the motivation behind learning words. So when a child is nonverbal, there's 2 things that could be happening. Sometimes it's an apraxia. When they have an apraxia, that means that their mouth is not physically forming words correctly, and you'll need a speech therapist. Sometimes it's just really a behavioral motivation, understanding of communication. And sometimes it's both, and it's okay. Either way, I think the PRT Pocket Guide is still going to support you on this journey. And so what you want to learn, again, I'm going to break it down into 2 basic things. If you read the book, it'll all make sense, but I'll give you a brief overview. So first thing you want to do is create, it's called communicative intent. And all it is you're teaching them that when I make a sound, I get something. It's that simple. Okay. Just if I make a sound, I get something. Okay, that's it. And I'll tell you how to do that. But the second thing I want you to keep in mind is called object label correspondence. You don't need to know the term. You just need to know that it means you're going to teach them what things are called. Okay, so those 2 things. You want to teach them that when I say something, I get it. And you also want to teach them what it's called. So for example, if you know he loves a phone and he's reaching for the phone, or he's grabbing the phone, or you have the phone in your hand and he's jumping for it, he's pulling your arm down, you want to teach him that it's called phone. And then you also want to teach communicative intent. So you're just going to hold the phone by your mouth, since you said he's already looking at your mouth. Perfect. That's what we want. And you're just going to say phone 1 time, wait 7 seconds. You're not going to say phone, 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 phone. You're not going to yell phone in their face a million times. You're going to say phone, and you're going to pause and wait and wait and wait. And if he doesn't say anything or try anything after 7-ish seconds, then say it again, phone. And then if he makes any noise out of his mouth, you reinforce him and say phone, and you give him the phone. And you do that. If he takes your hand to the milk in the fridge, you hold the milk and you say milk. Wait. And we're not expecting him to say milk perfectly. We just want him to make a sound. Even if he screeches, say, yeah, milk, and give it to him. That's going to teach him that when I vocalize, I get what I'm asking for. And since you're always labeling what it's called, he's also going to start learning what it's called. And if you do that, it's a simple thing to do, right? Every time you know what he wants, you just hold it by your face and you say it. If he makes a sound, you give it to him. And you just do that all the time. What'll happen is one day he's just going to walk up to the fridge and say milk. And you're going to be like, oh, okay, great. If he doesn't have an apraxia. If he has an apraxia, again, speech therapy will help with that. This is still going to support it. It's not going to be bad, but it might be harder for the words to come out.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. Yeah, looking forward to trying that. 'Cause he does have a speech therapist. It's just we've only had 1 appointment, and It does take a long time to get appointments again.
Yes. And to kind of break down what an apraxia is when you make a sound, you use a lot of muscles in your mouth. And there's a lot of coordination with those muscles. And when a child has an apraxia, it's that coordination of the muscles isn't working the way we would want it to. And so even if they know what they're trying to say, they can't put the sound together correctly. So that takes an additional support, right? That takes like oral motor movement and practice and strengthening. And again, a speech therapist can really help you if that's what is happening. But still teaching him what things are called and that he needs to talk for it is still going to be beneficial either way.
Mallory, can you explain a little bit of why you hold it up to your face? Like what is that instead of just saying it and handing it to him?
Lots of reasons. So again, the number 1 reason is that it's going to help with their articulation. So when you hold it to your face, they're watching your mouth and they're watching how you're making the sound. And so that helps, because if they're like looking somewhere else and you're just saying a word to them and they're just like, it's just going, it's hard. That's not going to improve articulation as well or as quickly. So there's research on this too, that if they're watching your mouth as you say it, you're improving the way they're saying it. And also you're teaching, again, the communicative intent, right? That vocalizations are functional. So if he looks at you, you say it, he says it, you exchange it and give it to him. Now that's me asking for something. That's not me just making sounds to the world and not knowing what's going to come from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Jade, we appreciate you coming up. Did that give you some good tips that you can move forward with?
It did. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. You have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you later. You guys, this is amazing. See, isn't Mallory such an expert? If you're not following her, you guys probably should be. She's I try to have her come up at least once a week to come and provide some of her expertise with us. Vicky says, can nonverbal learn to talk? Yes, absolutely. And nonverbal can definitely learn to communicate. Sometimes that's vocal speech, and other times that's other methods of communication. So signing is a perfectly valid form of communication. That is your child's voice. So is using an AAC device. Absolutely. Oh, Jade says, thank you, Mallory. I don't know if you saw that, but yeah.
Of course.
Okay. Kat says, how much therapy is suggested for kids with apraxia? Ooh, I don't know that I have an answer for that.
That's a good question. I think it varies. Depends on the client and their age and how they're doing, but minimum once a week, if not twice a week. And if it's pretty severe, maybe 3 times a week is what I've seen in my experience.
Yeah. All right. My son is nonverbal and starting to speak in 3-word sentences. It's so possible. All right, you
Yes.
guys, I like doing this sometimes. I'm just curious who all here is new. We have 250 people watching. How many of you just found me today on your FYP? Put FYP in the chat if you just barely came across my page. Put FYP in the chat. Let me know. I want to see. There's a lot of people. Wow. Oh my goodness. Let me introduce myself a little bit about what this channel is. So I'm fairly new to TikTok, you guys. I still don't know fully what I'm doing, but I am having fun and it's been meaningful to me. But I'm an autism dad. So I have a 3.5-year-old son with autism. I have a 1.5-year-old daughter diagnosed with autism. And I have, I've worked with people with autism since 2013. I'm a board certified behavior analyst. I actually created the study tools, an app that has trained an estimated 80% of the currently board certified behavior analysts that exist today. So ABA Wizard, if you're a BCBA or an RBT, you've probably heard of ABA Wizard. It's a study tool to help people prepare for the exam. That was something I started about 8 years ago. And currently I'm the CEO of a company in Utah that provides ABA services and autism services to some amazing people out here in Utah. And so that's a little bit about me. I have expertise, but I'm not an expert in everything. And Mallory is an expert in a lot more than I am. And so I love having Mallory come on, and she is really good with all of this. So let's keep answering some questions. Again, if you're in the guest box, it's because you have a question about a young child that Mallory and I can talk to. I need Holland. I feel like I know you. But I can't click into your profile. And anyway, I'm not sure who it is. But Holland has said she knows me, and now she's saying Mallory, so maybe she knows you. But anyway, oh my gosh, for Missing Piece. No way. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Holly.
Holly. Okay. Funny. I'm so glad
Hi.
you're here, Holly. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes, I miss you, Holly. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, you guys. Yeah, this is so fun. All right. Turbo Tim says, I have an 8-year-old that has behavior issues, but meltdown are crazy. I have to distract and bribe. Okay, yeah. Oh, Turbo Tim, I'm sorry. Having an 8-year-old that has a lot of behavior issues is hard.
There's a lot of, yes. Go. There's a lot of people asking about meltdowns, Kylan, so I think it might be good to touch on that a little bit.
We should talk about meltdowns. And it's hard. I have a hard time just in general to talk about meltdowns. I don't know. Where would you start? If someone's like, what do we do about meltdowns? Where do you start?
Yeah, there's lots of reasons for meltdowns, right? But I think we start with, again, I always say just really observe, look at what's happening before and after. So that's going to be your key. I think most often caregivers know, not always. We don't always know why the meltdown happens, right? But a lot of times you can probably have an idea. Maybe you know they're trying to say something that you don't understand. You don't know what they're trying to tell you. Maybe you know it's because they want something that they can't have. But maybe you don't know what it is, but you know it's something, right? You really look at what's happening in like the context of the meltdown. And then really the idea is give them a way to communicate what it is that they need. Like that's a really, really, really simplified version of addressing meltdowns. But I think sometimes we don't always look at it this way. We don't always look at like, okay, what's causing this and what can I teach you so that you get what you need, but without having to have the meltdown.
Yes. See, that is so much more complex and difficult than traditional discipline of a child. Like I look at like the spanking of kids and things like that. That is the lazy person's parenting. That is like bad child. I hit bad child, like caveman type discipline. And there's a level above that, there's a level above that. And that is understanding why is your child behaving the way that they are and what skill or what communication can we teach them that is going to help them appropriately get what they want. And that takes an extra level of expertise, of knowledge. It's a little bit, it's definitely more advanced. And so it's hard for some people to learn that, I know. And some people fall back on some of these more caveman approaches to disciplining a child, but AirPods help.
And
you
I will
have
say,
patience.
I'm going to challenge you, Kylan, and say, there's no judgment. Sometimes parents just are doing the best they can and they don't know what to do. And they don't have the resources and they think, like, I know myself as a mom, sometimes I feel like if I can't find the right discipline, like my child's going to grow up and be a terrible person. Yeah. And I think like the way that they might be acting or the things he's doing need certain disciplines or whatever. And it's a lack of resources. It's a lack of knowing different. And so that's why we're here, right? We're here to learn different. Yeah. But I think, it's less about discipline and it's more about a skill deficit. Yep. So meltdowns most often are related to something that they can't do, right? They can't regulate themselves. Maybe they're overstimulated. I would always look at like sensory processing. We know this is a piece of autism. And think about yourself, if you're overwhelmed, if I put you in a room and turned on every possible noise, the fan and the radio and a computer, all the things that make noise. And then I put all these flashing lights around you. And then I said, okay, now I want you to sit down and focus and do your work. Like, it's not going to be easy to do. No. And for all we know, this type of thing could be happening for them a lot, right? So like they're expected to do things that are hard and overstimulating environments, and that's going to cause a meltdown. So break it down. What is it that we need? How can we help you? Do you need to learn where to go when you're overwhelmed? Do you not have language to communicate what it is that you want? When you want milk and you can't say milk, I always go back to milk because it's just basic. But if you can't say that and you want that, you're going to have a meltdown. And then parents are going to try to figure out what it is you need. And eventually you get the milk, right? And that's why you're having meltdowns. Yes. So we need to teach you to ask for it. A simple one is like access to things, guys. Like, so if you want something, you can have it, but you have to ask the right way, right? I'm not going to give it to you because of the tantrum, but I'm going to teach you the skill you need to get it the right way.
Yes.
Maybe you need to get away from something. You need to get out of there. You're going crazy and you need to escape something going on, right? So, okay, let's have you say, I need a break. Let's have you have a safe place to leave to, right? These are all things that are going to decrease meltdowns. But you have to get to the root of it. Why is it happening?
Yeah. Love it. That is spot on. Spoken like a behavior analyst. That's how, when you go to ABA, that's what your behavior analyst is going to look at. They'll do something called a functional behavior assessment and try to identify the function of the behavior. So we have some more people in the guest box. Let's go ahead. Again, we try to keep these pretty brief so we can get to as many people. We have a lot of people waiting. Let's see if Starlet is still here. Hello, Starlet. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah. Hi, Kyan. Hi, Mallory.
Hello.
Where are you calling in from?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I have a question about evaluations.
Yeah.
My daughter and myself I believe I have autism, and I believe my daughter also has autism, but we've also had a geneticist tell us that we have an MAP1B mutation that causes autism. But we both have a 2E profile, which has made it very difficult to get diagnosed. And the reason why I'm looking for diagnosis is because that it opens up more, uh, more ways of getting help.
Yeah.
But it's difficult because we've been, evaluated a lot, and we get a lot of well, you can make eye contact and you can communicate well,
Yeah.
so we don't believe you have autism.
To be clear,
So I
you
was
have
just
not gone
wondering
in
if there's
and had an evaluation for autism. Is that right?
My daughter and we've been evaluated a few times, yeah.
Okay.
And we've both been diagnosed with apraxia. My daughter was nonverbal until she was 5. Um, and we've also been diagnosed with sensory processing disorder, ADHD. It just seems like we keep adding on to these
But they didn't
diagnoses,
get
but we're
you
not calling it what it is.
Yeah.
they didn't get you an autism diagnosis then. This is
No.
they did the full evaluation though, and they had the scores and everything, and they're like, nope, you don't meet the criteria.
So we basically just barely missed the criteria in that we're able to communicate well, make eye contact. We're more like overly expressive.
Yeah. But most of these evaluations, they're able to look at historical things of how you were as a young child, like if especially your daughter, right, who wasn't communicating until a lot later. I mean, even though she is now, that seems like something that they absolutely would consider in the diagnosis.
Right.
So how
I
many
think
different
the
times have you been
struggle-
evaluated?
I've been evaluated twice, and my daughter's been evaluated twice.
Okay.
Wow.
And were they by two different evaluators?
Yes. And basically, their conclusion was we got a diagnosis of ADHD with
Yeah.
autistic-like behaviors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here's
And it's so common in females to get diagnosed like that. That's a really, really common thing. So
I
that's,
was just
I'm
wondering
sure
if
that's
there's,
frustrating.
so I was just wondering if there's, because it just doesn't feel like the evaluations are, I feel like they're kind of behind in
Yeah.
the times, is there like newer evaluations that are more fit for somebody who is higher functioning or like a 2E profile?
Yeah, so when you say 2E profile, you're referring to like autism may be present, but also some high level skills are also present, and intelligence
Yes.
and like giftedness and such.
Yeah,
So
because my daughter has an IEP and she also tested as gifted.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that's and you see a lot of people like that, especially on the spectrum. But
Yeah.
I'm blown away
Totally.
that you didn't get the diagnosis. And
Yeah.
I was talking to a psychologist just last week, the one who diagnosed my daughter, and he said that there are still psychologists. He's like, I know of 3 psychologists in Utah who refuse to diagnose level 1 autism. That
Yeah.
will not agree, and they're a lot of times
Yeah.
they're the
They
older
don't think you, yeah.
psychologists that back in 2013. Before 2013, autism was like more of a profound disability that you had to have for a diagnosis, and then it included Asperger's, and it's widened the spectrum, and but there's still some psychologists that refuse to abide by and focus on those higher level
Oh,
lower
it's
support
such a
needs.
detriment because, and I think sometimes, it can be so challenging because if you can come across neurotypical, right, and you can get by, but you're not getting the supports you need in other ways, that can really be taxing on somebody. And it can really, especially, I think it's great that you can relate to your daughter, and that's a huge advantage for her. Because I've seen it a lot with girls with a similar profile to what you're saying. And as they get older and older, it becomes really challenging because they know that things are different, that maybe they're experiencing things different. They don't quite understand it, and they don't have the social support that they might need if they had an autism diagnosis. And then there's even research saying that that can relate to depression and that type of thing. So I think that is frustrating. It, again, doesn't mean that you can't still support her,
Mm-hmm. Right. I wish that, I guess we didn't focus so much on the diagnosis as we focused on where somebody needs support.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, getting a diagnosis, that's what allows
Right.
us to have access to resources
A lot of
that
those
we
supports
need.
come from that.
100%.
Yeah, a diagnosis
Yeah.
does two things. A diagnosis will get you support that you would not otherwise be guaranteed, but it also provides you validation of understanding of, I've always felt different. I've always felt, these struggles, and, getting that diagnosis can feel very validating in those moments. And so I'm sorry you're going through that. I don't know of any new assessment. You're right that right now the diagnosing is still prioritizing young children with more clear manifestations of autism symptoms. But I want you to your feelings are valid, and I hope that there are more resources available soon. I hope you and your daughter can find some support. I wish I had a better answer for you.
That's okay. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for coming
Yes,
up
of course.
and being open and vulnerable. I hope you have a really good rest of your day. I appreciate you coming up. I saw someone in the chat ask that he has a 18-month. Let's see. My boy is 18 months old. Are there any early signs I can look for? Yes. The MChat. Go to the MChat. MCHAT. You can. It's free. It's online. It's available everywhere. And you can go and fill it out. It tends to catch about 95% of cases of autism just in that screener. Some of the early signs that it'll ask about is, do they respond to their name? Can they say words? Are they pointing? If you point, do they look where you're pointing? Do they make eye contact? Do they reference you? Do they bring you toys to share their excitement in the toys? What am I missing? Any stimming or repetitive behaviors, things like that it asks. So yeah, definitely go and do the MChat if you're worried about your kid. Vanessa says lining up toys, hand flapping, no sense of danger or fear. Yeah, all of those can be signs of autism. Oh my goodness, Kimmy, if your kids really like their hands, get little hats for them. My daughter loves to wear hats on her hands.
That's cute.
Like little finger hats? Is that a thing that you can get little hats on?
That's
on the
cute.
finger? That's so funny. Amber says, should I stop stimming?
Love it.
No. Why would you stop stimming? Unless you're hurting yourself. Look, here's my thoughts on stimming. There are some repetitive behaviors like stimming that are dangerous, and those we need to work on. Things like hitting your head, or things like skin picking, or things like that. Those can be repetitive behaviors or stimming that need to stop. Hand flapping, spinning, things like that don't hurt anybody. No, don't stop your stim. Don't stop your stimming. Yeah, it's helpful. It's soothing. It regulates. It's okay to stim.
I think the key too is as they learn more skill and are able to play and engage with others and communicate, then the stemming we want children to basically to have the opportunity to make a choice when it comes to STEMming, right? Because there is a world in which we want them to be able to learn, right? And sometimes STEMming is so reinforcing that it can get in the way of learning, which again, to an extent is okay. But we want them to also have enough skill to be able to choose like, yeah, right now I'm just going to STEM. But also if I want to focus, I can. I don't have to STEM 24/7 to be okay. And that just takes time. It takes a lot of time. Even in my early career, it was very focused on no STEMming. We don't let them STEM. We stop, we redirect. Every single time they start to engage in a stereotypic behavior, you're redirecting it to something more appropriate. And it was the most intense behavior protocol to implement. And you would see so many side effects in behavior. You would see the kids would just eventually have these outbursts because they were like, I have to have this outlet, right? And sometimes it would just end up making the STEMming even greater because now they needed it even more and they wanted it even more. So when they did engage in it, it was even more valuable to them. And it was, again, such an intensive intervention to implement. And when I shifted in my career and learned that we don't stop it, we allow it, and we just support them with more and more skill, it starts to fade over time. They're not going to do it 24/7. And they might choose to STEM at a time, but they might choose to come play a game with you instead. I think, Kylan, you've seen that, right? Even in your own kiddos, right? Where like sometimes it's like, I want you to play with me nonstop.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, I just want to be in my own world, right?
Yes, absolutely. This is going to sound bad, but my son reminds me a little bit of how our cats act. That that my kid is more and more wanting affection. He's wanting the connection with me, but it has to be on his own terms. And so I can't go and initiate, and like he is very much don't touch me. But then if I'm sitting down, he quite often will come and snuggle up to me on my lap. And anyway, let's see here. Let's look at some of these comments. We do have a lot of people in the guest box I can bring up, but I do like the quick chat too. So put in your questions here and I'll answer some, then we'll bring up the next guest. How do you know when your child needs meal therapy? Nia, that's a good question. So feeding therapy is common. If your child is struggling to get the nutrition that they need, or if there's a lot of things that they can address in feeding therapy. They can address being able to use utensils. They can address being willing to eat new foods. They can focus on chewing the food so it's safe and not choking. So it really depends on your child's needs. But if there's any concerns you have about feeding, you need to find a feeding therapist. Now, what is a feeding therapist? Well, typically they're not called a feeding therapist. A feeding therapist is usually a speech therapist or an occupational therapist or an ABA therapist. And those, but with special training to be able to support with feeding. And so, you'll see a lot of these other speech therapy, OT, and BCBAs who are trained in feeding, and that's what you want to look for. If child can hear and do anything he wants, but when it's called, he doesn't respond, is it autism? NDB, that's a good question. What do you think, Mallory?
That's a question on the MChat that Kylan was speaking about, which is you can literally get the MChat online. But one of the questions is, have you ever wondered if your child was deaf? And it basically relates to when you call them or you say something to them, they just simply don't orient or turn or respond to you. So it could be, but could also not be. But could be.
Both my kids, that is. Okay, my daughter does something so funny. Okay, I got to tell you guys this. So my two oldest kids, they're downstairs in our basement quite often. And so we'll yell down for them and we say both of their names. And then they yell back up and they say, yeah, every time. And so my daughter has started responding with, yeah, every time that we say those names. But she still doesn't respond to her own name. And so we have a video. We have a video right now of us saying her name over and over and over. And she's just sitting there, not even acting like she's hearing us. And then the moment we say, Remy Sam, she goes, Yeah. It turns to us.
Exactly, right? Yep.
And so
And that's
she-
because of repetition. She's heard that multiple times. She's made that correlation.
Yeah.
But it's not this awareness of like, someone's talking to me, I should turn and be interested in what they're saying to me.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. That's funny. And that's a good distinction, though. It's a good example.
Yeah. And so that alone does not mean autism, but that is one question
No.
on the MChat. And one factor that they may look at is, are they responding to their name?
Yeah.
Vanessa says, yes, I asked for a hearing test for my son when he was little because he didn't respond to his name. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the first things that they'll ask you for sure.
Very cool. All right.
His whole government name. That's funny.
If you have a question for me or Mallory, specifically about little ones, little children with autism is the theme today of what we're talking about. Go ahead and request in the chat. I'm going to bring up another guest right now. We do have some people here. Let's see here. Fatuma, I'm going to bring you up. Lexi, do you want to come up for the last 15 minutes today? I can bring you up in the last 15 minutes, and you can kind of join the discussion. Awesome. Very cool. Let's see if this person might not be loading. Okay, if you have a young child and you have questions and you want to talk about anything, feel free to request up. Have I listened to the telepathy tapes? Oh, I just made a video about the telepathy tapes. Mallory, I don't know if
we have listened.
Did you see the video that I posted about the telepathy
No,
tapes?
I
You need to go
didn't.
watch
I
it
did
because,
not.
Man, I put a lot of time into making sure every word was spot on because, man. Okay, I got thoughts about the telepathy tapes, you guys. I got thoughts about the telepathy tapes. My thoughts first are, if you haven't listened to the telepathy tapes, let me give you the premise. The premise is, hey, we should be assuming competence in our children, which I agree with that.
Yes.
We should be presuming competence.
Yes.
Our children with autism that are nonverbal are incredibly smart, is another premise. And there's two claims that they make specifically. One that is that although they can't communicate with an AAC device or with sign or with vocal communication, they're able to spell. They know how to spell words. And then Engel, I'll bring you up here in just a second. The second claim is that they're not only are they smart, but they're gifted and are able to engage in telepathy with their caregiver. And so you have a lot of parents who say, I know exactly what my child with autism is thinking, and they are putting that into my brain. And so then there's some other things of like existence that they experience this inner world. They talk about the hill, things like that. Let me tell you a little bit about where I stand with this. The telepathy tapes promote a pseudoscientific method for communication that harms children. It is called spelling to communicate. Spelling to communicate, and I'm not commenting about the hill or anything like that or the inner world. If you're spiritual and if you believe in that stuff, I'm not commenting on any of that. What I am commenting on is
facilitated communication.
Facilitated communication, rebranded as spelling to communicate, which has also been rebranded to rapid prompting method. Tiffany says we use AAC device. Beautiful. That is amazing. AAC device is evidence-based. It is giving your child a voice. Now, don't get it confused. Your AAC device is different from what they are doing in those tapes. They are promoting facilitated communication, which is where there's a letterboard, and instead of picking on pictures, they are having to spell out entirety of words. And it operates very much with the prompting of the facilitator, and they fade out the prompter to where these people with autism learn to communicate simply by the slight gestures and movements of the facilitator. This can cause real harm. The real question with it, with the telepathy tapes and with facilitated communication is who is authoring the communication? Who is the author? Because if you're saying you're giving someone a voice, that means the person with disabilities, the person with autism should be authoring that communication. And when spelling to communicate is researched and broken down, they find that the author is always the facilitator. So what they do to do this, to test this, is they give the facilitator a piece of information, and they give the kid with autism a piece of information. They give, maybe the answer is red for the facilitator and the answer is blue for the kid with autism. And guess what color it is every single time? It is red. It is what the facilitator saw. It is never what the child saw. And so what facilitated communication does, and what a large portion of the telepathy tapes was promoting, was not giving a voice to these kids. It was, one, taking away their voice and having their caregiver use their voice over the child, and two, using these children as a carnival act to, make it look like they're doing fancy tricks, when all that they're doing is fading out these prompts and doing micro prompts to suggest how these kids can prompt things. So that is, Tiffany, I'm so glad you're spot on here. You're spot on here. That's my concern with telepathy tapes. Now, on a spiritual level and talking about the hill and things like that, there's some interesting stuff, and I don't know too much about it. I'm not going to really talk about it on there, and I'm okay with people to look at that and agree with things. I don't think that hurts anybody. But Anyway, Mallory, do you have more thoughts on that?
Nope. I agree with you 100%.
Okay. All right. Lisa says, I see that leading to misreport of abuse in custody cases. That's happened.
Yeah.
That has happened.
Yeah, it has happened.
Using facilitated communication. Even worse. Let me tell you, the worst thing that has happened is a professor that was using this method, and there's a Netflix documentary about this, was using facilitated communication to get into a consensual relationship with a nonverbal man with cerebral palsy, a physical relationship, ongoing, that she got charged with, and then she said he was able to consent and use facilitated communication as the method for justifying that he was consenting. And then they went to court, and they had to disprove in court that it was not a valid form of communication. They had to say, was that man actually authoring that that message, or was it the facilitator who also happened to be the one that he was consenting to? That show can be quite triggering if you have a child with disabilities. And so I'm not recommending that you go and watch it. I'm just saying there's a lot of harm that this method, these facilitated communication methods have caused a lot of harm. So Tiffany says, I wish y'all could meet my boys. It brings me so much joy. I love that. All right,
me too.
Let's bring up Engelbrecht. I told you that I'd bring you up, and we can answer some questions here. If you're still on here, Engelbrecht. Hello.
Hi, thank you.
Where are you calling in from?
Are you able to hear?
Where?
A little bit.
I can't hear you very good.
Can you hear me better now?
Not very good. There's a lot of background noise. Are you able to use a different mic or try to? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
have so many questions, but I usually phone from my phone.
All right, I went ahead and dropped you. I'm so sorry. You can come up and ask your questions. Try to go find a different device. If we don't get to you today, if you don't have it, we can look at it the next day. Just for fun says, any tip on how to get an AAC device for my autistic son through insurance? Yes, I do have some thoughts on this. Typically, a speech therapist is able to write a referral for one to get insurance to pay for it. Have you seen that happen before, Mallory? That's what I've heard a lot of people do.
Yep, that's the way usually. Yep.
Yeah. And so talk to the speech therapist. Anymore, the AAC devices used to be really expensive devices. They used to be like standalone devices, and anymore, the vast majority are just iPads, basic iPads, with apps on there for communication. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you can download the apps like Proloquo, and there's other similar ones.
Yep.
But it is best, I think, to have a speech therapist guide it.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. But the cool thing, if you're coordinating care, the whole thing with autism is that once you are at the part of your journey where you're creating a care team for your child, one second here. Once you're at the point where you're creating a care team for your child, you need to find people that work well together, because a speech therapist usually only comes once a week. And if they're trying to teach an AAC device, they're going to need to work with ABA so that ABA can be working on it as well throughout the week. And so keep that in mind. Make sure that your care team will work well together. Any advice for how to find public resources as a high masking, late diagnosed adult? That is a good question. When you look for, okay, so if you have a diagnosis, you're fully conversational, you're late diagnosed, the biggest support that you can have is mental health therapy. That's what I recommend, is find a mental health therapist who has specialty in autism and can work with adults diagnosed with autism. Okay. All right. Help about jumping and mimicking, please. Well, mimicking is kind of a good thing. I mean, you want your child to be able to mimic and imitate. My son is starting to do something interesting, that he pays attention to the oddest sounds around us. Like, less than talking, he pays attention to, like, his latest obsession is the blinker in the car. And so whenever I turn the blinker on, he clicks his tongue and matches the sound of the blinker, and it's like perfect. I mean, I swear this kid's going to be a beatboxer.
Yep.
And coughing, if I cough, he'll cough. If I burp, he like walks up to me and does like a really exaggerated burp sound, and like he mimics every little thing. It sounds like he's making fun of us, but he's just trying to make sense of his world. So, thoughts on ABA? My 21-month-old son was just diagnosed, and I'm hearing a lot of mixed messages. Julia, what a good question. Do you want to come up and talk to us about it? I sent you an invite. You don't have to. We can just talk about it from down here. But if you want to come up, we can talk about it. That's a really good question. So, why is there kind of this negativity around ABA? That's a really good question. Hello, thank you for coming up. I'm sorry to just put you on the spot.
That's okay.
Where are you at? Where are you from?
I'm in Tennessee.
You're in Tennessee. Okay. And walk us through this. Did your child just get diagnosed with autism?
Yes, last week.
Oh, wow.
My goodness. How are you doing? How are you feeling about it?
Well, I mean, we kind of knew. We had a pretty good idea going into the assessment, and then watching the assessment kind of solidified it for me.
Yeah.
So by the time we got the results, it wasn't a surprise. And we're good. I think the biggest question is what this is going to look like for his future, but we'll just kind of take it as it comes.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just trying to get him set up with as many helps as we can.
Yeah.
I'm just hearing a lot of mixed messages about ABA, and we're trying to decide if it's right for him.
Yeah. Great question. Great question. Let me kind of back things up. I talk about parts of the autism journey. And right now, you just got a diagnosis. You're right here at the beginning. The very first thing that I tell everybody is like, this is a lifelong thing and you need a village. And I'm just going to ask you, do you have a village? Do you have family around? Do you have, a spouse? Do you have people helping, or are you in this alone?
No, yeah, definitely. We have lots of people who are understanding and willing to be supportive and help.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Great. That's the first part here is you need your village. A lot of people, if they're doing this alone, even before getting ABA and therapies and everything, I say, no, like you need to be able to like have 2 hours off here and there. You need a village. And so I'm glad you do. The next part is getting your diagnosis, getting clarity, and you're already there. So you're at the appropriate step to be thinking about therapy. So the third part of this autism journey is creating your child's care team. Now, you have a lot of, I'm sure, as you've been learning about autism, have you felt bombarded with information? Do you feel like there are so many opinions out there, so many treatments that you're having to figure out if that's what you want to do? How are you dealing with all of that?
Yeah, it definitely feels like it can be a lot. And I think the biggest part of that is trying to understand what is right for him.
Yeah.
As far as his personality and what he's specifically struggling with or where his strengths are.
Yeah.
One of his strengths is emotional regulation. So we don't see the meltdowns and tantrums very often. That happens a little more when we're out in public, but here at home, he's quite calm and easygoing. And so,
Wonderful.
yeah, we're just kind of trying to figure out what all of these supports are. We have a doctor, his doctor recommending one thing. We have him set up with the state's early intervention program, and they're kind of recommending something different. And so it is a lot, and it can be confusing.
Okay, perfect. There are a lot of people that are going to tell you all the things to do, and you are going to feel like you are a parent that can never do enough. If you don't feel that yet, you are going to. I have felt that. And it is a lot, and there's a lot of things out there that don't do a whole lot of good. I also want to preface this by saying, as autism parents, we are extremely vulnerable to predatory marketing and misinformation. We are desperate for anything and everything that will help. And so let's take it to the very basics. What are the things right now that insurance is mandated to pay for? These are things that have gone through the scrutiny of research, and legislation has had to go through, and the evidence was stronger than insurance pushing back, saying we don't want to have to pay for that. These things are considered the gold standard for the frontline help and assistance for people with autism, and there's 4 of them, okay? The first one is ABA therapy. You talked about this. You've heard mixed things. ABA therapy is the highest funded support for people with autism. You can get up to 40 hours per week of services for your child. That can be in your home, that they're there playing with your kid at home, working on skills, or it could be in a clinic. The second one is occupational therapy. Occupational therapy is really great if you're working on sensory needs, or if you're working on feeding therapy and they have a trained feeding specialist. But if your child has high sensory needs that you're not able to meet, OT is a wonderful place to go. The third is speech therapy. If your child struggles with communication, I recommend getting a speech therapist on board. The problem with OT and speech is that typically it's only 1 hour per week. Sometimes there's limits of like 20 visits per calendar year on insurance plans. And so this is not something that's even comparable to the type of funding that is available for ABA therapy. However, having them involved can help guide the ABA therapy to make sure it's in line with what OT feels like is beneficial and what speech feels like is beneficial. Then later on, and this probably doesn't apply to your son yet, is mental health therapy. And that, if they're able to fully communicate and conversational and they need that support as a teen or an adult, Mental health therapy is great. Now, there's so many other things. There are diets. People are going to tell you to go gluten-free, dairy-free, do leucovorin, do stem cell therapy. All these other things at this point is considered fringe. Now, I could go into the science and the benefits of all of these, but just know that like you are not failing your child by not pushing through all of these other little things. I highly recommend ABA. But let me tell you about ABA therapy and why it gets a bad rap. Or maybe I'll ask you, what have you heard about ABA? What gets you most concerned about doing ABA?
I think the thing that I hear the most is people saying that it was a really traumatic experience for them. And the feeling that I get is that they were with a provider that maybe tried to stifle their autistic behaviors. So perhaps they stopped them from stimming or kind of tried to make them normal in quotation, rather than really building skills and working with them to strengthen areas where they're weak. That's kind of, I think it's really hard because not a lot of people that I've seen are saying, this is what they did that was damaging.
Yeah.
I just see people saying it was the most traumatic thing I ever did. But then I see others saying this was the best thing I ever did for my child. So it's confusing.
Just know that, I'm going to let Mallory touch a lot on this one. Especially Mallory I think you should talk about developmentally appropriate stuff here.
Oh, I will. Yes.
There are real concerns with ABA therapy, especially how it was practiced 10, 15 years ago. Because yes, there was a lot of promotion of masking and stopping kids from flapping hands and forcing eye contact and things like that. A lot of old school ABA, and I don't blame adults with autism who have PTSD from their experiences at all.
Right.
And so not all people doing ABA is high quality. And so what you really like, ABA does wonders. It is evidence-based. It is not, by default, it's not traumatic. But there are, you have to make sure that you find the right therapist. It's going to help your child the most. So Mallory, I'll turn it to you. Why don't you talk a little bit about like some of your recommendations as far as ABA goes and how to find a good one and things like that.
So Julie, I think that I'm glad that you're thinking the way you're thinking about ABA because you're right. And not every two ABA agencies are not the same. And unfortunately, I still, like Kylan said, yes, like early on, 10 years ago, it was more rigid. But unfortunately, you can still find ABA like that today. So there's a couple of red flags, things you're going to look for, and a couple green flags that you're going to look for. So for your little, you said he was what? Not even 3 yet?
Yeah, he's not even 2 yet. He's 21 months.
Okay.
Amazing.
So 100%. I recommend ABA, 100% I do. But you're going to look for a place that provides, I'm going to give you some acronyms. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. One is DAP, Developmentally Appropriate Practice in ABA. The other one is NDBI. It's Naturalistic Developmental Behavioral Interventions. Okay. So NDBIs are basically an umbrella of ABA approaches that are developmentally appropriate. So what happens is you might go to an ABA agency and have a behavior analyst who has been in the field for a long time, but they never took a course in child development. They don't know what is age appropriate for a 3-year-old, for a 2-year-old. And they just know the science of behavior really well. They might apply skills and interventions that are just not age appropriate. So you're going to ask those questions like, do you guys do age appropriate ABA and what does it look like? For that age, there should be no forced sitting at tables. There really shouldn't be a whole lot of like flashcards, maybe at a given point, but if there are flashcards, it should be really clear why and it should make sense to you. Everything should be taught in a way that's really functional, play-based, fun. There should be a lot of movement at this age, a lot of cause and effect, that type of thing. So for you as the mom, trust your gut. I think you need ABA for sure. But I think the right ABA is important. So ask if it's developmentally appropriate, ask about their experience in like early intervention, make sure that what they're doing is naturalistic and play based. And then when intervention,
go ahead. I apologize.
Really, really quick. When intervention starts, this is my main thing that I hear from parents a lot is like they don't really know what it should look like, and they don't really know if what they're seeing is normal. So ask those questions. If what you're seeing is a therapist in your home sitting on their phone, not really doing anything, that's not ABA. That's not what it should look like. If they're like forcing come to the table and we're having huge meltdowns the whole time, that's not what it should look like. You should know what's going on. You should know what they're working on. It should be positive. It should be age appropriate. So hopefully that kind of guides you in your journey.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Mallory, thank you for going through all that. I just, not all ABA is equal, but there are real benefits to getting it early. You are incredible. You got your child diagnosed so young, and that is so helpful. I mean, what I was going to ask you, Mallory, do you remember the statistics off the top of your head of like progression with kids when they start so young? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's so kids who start pivotal response training, which is one of those ABA approaches under the NDBI umbrella. Again, I know I'm throwing a ton of acronyms at you, but it's developmentally appropriate and it's ABA. For kids that start PRT before the age of 3, 94% of them will acquire vocal verbal speech as their main form of communication. 94%.
Wow.
Incredible. I mean, that's a very incredible statistic. And like the earlier you start, even better. I mean, we don't have the data in front of us on starting before the age of 2, but certainly starting before the age of 2 is even better than starting before the age of 3. So jump in, but look for these red flags. Make sure that they're playing with your child. My kid's at ABA, he doesn't want to leave. He
that's a good
cries
sign.
when it's time to go because he wants to stay because it's so fun. So that's a good sign. It's not work. It's not like school that you're in there learning all the time. It is playing.
But you're also seeing progress. That's important too.
Yes. Okay. We talked a lot. Do you have other questions, or do you feel like we helped you answer that one a bit?
No, that was really helpful. We'll have to. I think we're planning on meeting with whoever the doctor refers us to, and yeah, I think definitely a lot of observation, a lot of questions, and then just kind of going with our gut on what we think is going to be best for him.
Love it. Okay, thank you so much for coming up here.
Thank you.
Awesome, everybody. Hey, for those of you who are watching and you think Mallory would be an incredible person to have your kid support, Mallory actually works at the company where I'm the CEO here in Utah. It's called Nova Supports. If you ever are in Utah and you want to consider Nova Supports as your ABA provider, you can DM me, or I think in my bio I linked our website, but you can DM me directly. If you're in Utah, I want to support people locally, and Mallory oversees all of our quality. She hops in on supervision. She makes sure that people are doing a good job doing their services. So can you come to Chicago? Someday we'll get there.
Yeah.
All right. But what are we doing here, everybody? Let me give you a little bit of a rundown here for the last little bit. If you are new here, I go live every day for 2 hours. We talk about autism. I am an autism father. I have a 3.5-year-old diagnosed with autism. And I realized today how much he means to me. Like lately he's been wanting to come up and sit on my lap, and I just get snuggles from him. And just the amount of joy I feel when I'm with him and I see him progress. I mean, it's beautiful. He learned to answer another question, you guys. I know I posted a video of him answering questions, but he answered, when's your birthday? He can say when his birthday is. How crazy is that?
Wow.
And he goes,
that's cool.
He goes, September 1st, and and it's pretty close, pretty darn close. So he's doing good. And when I hear that, I mean, I am so happy, and it makes it so that all those other moments of him screaming and tantruming whenever we change his clothes because he hates the sensory feel of changing clothes, like it makes all of that go away, right? Like it makes the fecal smearing that he does go away. It makes like all those other challenges that we have with him, it just makes it go away. And like our kids with autism are beautiful. And I really hope you can all take a minute to see that in your own kids, that like your kids are beautiful. And I hope that your providers, your ABA and your OT and your speech, recognize how beautiful your children are. If they don't, you need to find a new one. Like that, to me, that's a prerequisite. The people serving my kids, they better believe that my kids are the greatest human beings on the planet, because that's what I think. So anyway, let's keep answering some questions. IK says, one question, how to reduce the pain every time when I saw my daughter nonverbal 4 years. I'm not sure, like the pain of knowing your daughter is nonverbal. Is that, Mallory, is that what you're understanding from that question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm not sure, IK. Maybe you could clarify a little bit.
Yeah.
What's the difference between ABA and OPWDD services? Is OPWDD, is that what's going on in Idaho? I don't
know what it is.
Let me Google this.
I don't know what it is.
Let me research this. OPWDD is different. OPWDD is Office for People with Developmental Disabilities. Oh, this is New York DSPD. This is HCBS.
Oh.
Okay. No. This is not the same thing. So OPWDD is just in New York. That's why I didn't know it. Every state calls these services something different. If you know what your state calls it, let me know in the chat. In Utah, it's DSPD. But these are this is the funding that pays for like respite and group homes and disability services. So put the state that you're from and what it's called in your state. I'm curious what it's called in each state where you guys are from. In Utah, it is DSPD. Arizona, it's DDD. That's right. And this is different from ABA. And maybe this is something you haven't even thought of, everybody. If you have a child with autism, you need to be looking at their disability services. When I talk about the parts of the autism journey, okay, let me give a very quick rundown of these 5 things. So you need a village, you need to get clarity and get your diagnosis, you need to build your care team, you need to learn everything you can about autism and how to help your kid on your own, and then you need to prepare for your child's future. This last one, we're preparing for the future, that is applying for ongoing services, disability services for your child. In California, it's the regional centers, isn't it? IHSS. I feel like I don't have a village. I feel I'm thrown in a corner. I'm lost. Oh, author Brantley, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're not alone. Let us be your village, please. We're a village here. That's why I started doing these lives, because I feel like I need a village. Is that the same as a waiver program? Yeah, this is the waiver program.
Yeah.
You need to be looking in Utah. Why I'm saying look at it now, in Utah, it's a 10 to 20 year wait list. So if I want my child to be able to get respite care or be prepared if I were to pass away, I need to apply now so that in 20 years from now, if he needs those services, we're on the wait list and we're available for him to get them. And so, yeah, please start applying for this. Author, if you want to come up and chat, this is what we're up here for. Lexi, you can also come up. I don't know if Mallory, if you've met Lexi or not, but she is our moderator in all things. She is very helpful, and I bring her up often. Usually towards the end is how I've been doing it lately, and we can have a more casual conversation at the end. But Lexi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing so good. It's a good day.
We just got home from occupational therapy not that long ago. That's why I wasn't on the live at the beginning. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine.
How did it go?
But I know you have other great mods on here too that got my back.
Yes, we got some good ones. So, thank you guys for all the mods that are helping out. All right, let's see if there's any other questions on here. When was you diagnosed with autism, Mr. Speaker? I'm not diagnosed with autism, but I understand why you might think that, because I have that above my head. I get that question quite often. I should add a disclaimer. I just am an autism parent, and I also am a professional that works with autism. I've worked with people with autism for 13 years and run a company that provides services to lots of people with autism in Utah. So you're in Kansas with no help, Author. Author, I might have missed a message. Do you not want to come up? That's okay. It can be a lot to come up here. But just know that like we can be part of your village. This is a lot. Kelly says 5-year-old son potty trained for a year, now goes poop in his underwear and doesn't notice for hours. Tips. I have thoughts on this, and you guys feel free, Mallory or Lexi, to jump in. But
okay.
What is the consistency of the poop? Because what I see happens quite often is, and again, I'm not a pediatrician, but from what I understand, if your child is potty trained and then you start seeing poop coming out, that's probably something to be looking at some medical causes for. One of the common things is for there to be a blockage to where there's constipation, but a little bit of the I don't even know what to call it. Some of the like fluid back behind the blockage.
You can still be pooping and still be constipated.
It seeps through and can come out like involuntarily, like throughout the day. And so if you're randomly seeing like poop stains and things like that, Tasha, that is a sign.
Go to a urologist. They'll do a X-ray to see if there is constipation or blockage, or not an X-ray. They'll do a sonogram.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Definitely look at some of the medical things there. Not that that's necessarily the option or the answer, but you got to rule out the medical before other things. Is OCD part of autism? So OCD is a separate diagnosis, but there is some overlap between OCD and autism. We know people with autism really like order. They really like having things lined up perfectly. Like there are some OCD type tendencies. But OCD itself is not part of the diagnostic criteria for autism. Is snapping fingers a sign of autism, or dancing? How does autism testing work? Okay, so Licky, I would say snapping fingers, those alone are not signs of autism. However, if it's repetitive, like if they're always doing the same movement, they're more looking at repetitive motions and movements. And so if you call it dancing and it's like them spinning or them, stimming to different things, that could be a sign of autism.
Yeah, and if it's really hard to redirect them, then that could be a sign. Because neurotypical children also stim. Like they also engage in repetitive behaviors. So it's about figuring out the distinction between when it's just kind of typical behavior and then when it becomes atypical or maybe like exacerbated.
Yeah. Hazija says, what is the level of autism? That's a good question. Let's talk about levels of autism. If you have a child with autism, or if you have autism, put their level in the chat. Level 1, level 2, or level 3. So there are 3 levels to autism. Level 1 meaning low support needs. Level 3 meaning high support needs. Level 2, moderate support needs. Now, I have some strong feelings about the levels. Okay. I'm not a fan of the level system. I don't like it, mostly because there's not a standardized metric for determining what level your child is. And so every psychologist makes it up on their own. Every psychologist says, oh, this feels like level 3 or this feels like level 2, or maybe they implement their own system. But level 2 with one person does not mean level 2 with the other person. So there's not this reliability or validity to the measure. The other part is that I feel like sometimes with levels, it can make a parent feel like that is your child's identity and their future and their potential. If you hear your child is level 3 autistic, you're going to think, oh man, like he's never going to talk. He's never going to do this, never going to do that. And that's not how you can act. That's not what you think. It's a snapshot in time, and you're able to change and adjust throughout your child's life and depending on the setting. They are talking, I don't know, what are your guys' thoughts on this? They are talking about adding in a profound autism clarifier within ASD, where if they're over the age of 8, I believe, and still no functional communication, that they can be diagnosed with profound autism. That's something I've been hearing. I'm interested in it if there's an objective way of measuring it. My only fear would be if insurance would then want to jump on and limit resources or therapies to only those with profound autism.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, that's what they will do. For sure.
Yeah.
Seen it enough times. Is rumination a part of ASD? That's hard to say. It could be, it could not be. I do know it's also a part of an OCD diagnosis.
Yeah.
But could be, could not be for any of those.
Let's see. Any tips for a child who holds food in their mouth during meals? Already in
Very common.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know that
I've
I have
worked
tips
with
for that. I haven't addressed that clinically.
Yeah,
before.
I've seen this a lot. I've seen a lot of kids that'll just hoard food in their mouth for hours and hours and hours and hours. And it's a sensory thing. You get a lot of sensory input through your jaw. And so holding food back here, sometimes you don't even know they have it, is it's just it's a sensory related thing. And I don't have a lot of input on it other than I've seen it a lot. It's pretty common in children with autism. I've worked with a lot of kids that do that. And if it were me and I'm working with them, I don't really worry about it. I know it's not great for their teeth. But you can give them other types of like sensory input in their jawline. So something to bite on, just do a lot of other sensory input that might make the need to hold it in there a little less necessary. Yeah. So again, biting things, you can even like rub their jaws. Sometimes they like to like press their chin down on, they might even be chinning you or other things. That's really common. And they're just getting the sensory input through their jaw. So any ways you can do that is good.
Love it. It just kind of shocked me because I've been seeing this with my youngest, that she leaves food in her mouth. And I'm like, why don't you just swallow that?
Yeah.
But I also,
totally a thing.
like, now that I'm thinking about it, like, how big of a problem is it? I guess the teeth is a concern. Choking could be a concern.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where that would fall in importance of addressing. So
My son kind of had the same issue, and since he's been going to occupational therapy, they use something called the Z-Vibe, and it vibrates in his mouth, and it gives him that sensation of like that like in his mouth, and they only give it to him for 10 minutes at a time. So if you do decide to go with this, I would definitely talk to your occupational therapist first and see their input on it. I'm definitely not recommending anybody to go get it because it is expensive. It's like an $80 thing.
Oh, wow.
So don't go out and buy it just because I said it worked for mine.
Yeah.
Talk to your
No, that's
medical
true.
team. But it does give him that like sensation and vibration in his mouth, and we give it to him for 10 minutes a day. He calls it his 10 minutes. He kind of now is starting to realize when he needs it, and he'll tell me 10 minutes and I know what it is that he wants.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
So you just give it to him, and what he does is he kind of like rubs it around his mouth, on the inside, on the outside. You know, it just gives him that sensation, that vibration. And then it kind of like snaps him out of that, like I don't know if it's overstimulation or what it is, but it kind of snaps him out of that. And within 10 minutes after he's done with it, most of the time I find it just vibrating somewhere. And I'm like, where is this thing? I can hear it.
Oh, that's cool.
Totally.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Lexi,
something
that's
to
a
look
good
into,
example.
especially if you have OT.
That's a good example of one of the benefits of OT. Like OT really does specialize in the sensory stuff of how do you help meet the child's sensory needs, and so yeah, this is great to go and talk to the OT and see how else can we meet those sensory needs in the mouth, if that is what's causing the behavior. So I love it. I think that's great. Z vibe. Thanks, Lexi. All right, what other questions do we have? How young would you recommend getting tested for autism, and what signs are most important? As early as you can is my recommendation. And the reason for that is because it'll probably take longer than you expect. The wait lists are long. And also, the earlier you get a diagnosis, the earlier you're able to start interventions. Some of the signs that are most common, and by the way, that's as early as 18 months usually is what most psychologists will do, is 18 months. There are some that you could find that the ADOS, I think, technically can test as young as 14 months, but most wait until 18 months is pretty standard. And so some of the signs that you're going to be looking for, I would recommend you go and look at the MCHAT, MCHAT. I need to add that to my bio. It's not there yet, but that asks all of those early signs to see if your child is at high risk for autism. It's validated. It catches about 95% of cases of autism. Okay. My son was tested at 2. Yeah, my son was tested right before he turned 2. My daughter was only 19 months when she got tested last week. So pretty young.
Yeah.
18 months is the benchmark. Yeah, you see 18 months quite often as the earliest, which I used to be hearing 2 years old was the benchmark, and it's I'm glad that we're diagnosing a little younger, because those resources young are the most important. 4 years old, nonverbal, started walking at 2 years, 8 months. Would this further delay speech?
It could.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Mallory?
I mean, it could. I don't know that it's necessarily directly correlated, but again, in typical development, gross motor generally develops before oral motor, which is language. And so if they're delayed in gross motor, they could also be delayed in speech. But I don't know that it necessarily means for sure that that's the case.
Yeah. I would say, don't try to predict where your child is going to be, and instead look at where they're at right now and what support you can give them. Right now, it sounds like hopefully you have a good physical therapist. Now, I didn't bring up physical therapy in my discussion here of the 4 main frontline therapies for autism, simply because some people need it, some people don't. Not all people with autism have developmental delays that require physical therapy, but absolutely, if you experience some gross motor delays and things like that, physical therapists are incredible. Okay, Hazija says that he knew something was wrong with my son when he was 1 year old. Yeah. I knew with my son very early, before the age of 1. It was pretty clear. He didn't regress. It was just constant delay. My daughter, though, she regressed. All right, for everyone in the chat, we are close to being done with the live today. We are not quite done, but we are getting close. A little bit of info here. If you are willing to help me out, I need a favor. I just barely started YouTube a couple days ago. We have something like 50 subscribers over there. If you guys wouldn't mind following the link over to my bio and subscribing to me on YouTube, that would be amazing. I would really appreciate that. The link is in my bio. And then also, I go live every single day. We talk about autism. We talk about the struggles of being a parent of a child with autism. We're here to support each other. We're here to cry together. We laugh together. We learn together. And so if you have found this helpful at all, please make sure that you're following so that you can find my live next time. We go live typically around noon Eastern time. We had Mallory on as a guest today, and I've told her she should come on like once a week. I really like having Mallory on, but we don't want to bore you and have the same guests up every day. We try to mix things up, but we really do enjoy having Mallory up here. Make sure you're following Mallory. She is great. Mallory, anything else you want to say before I turn it to Lexi?
No.
All right.
Go for it, Lexi.
Lexi, anything you want to say?
Yeah, actually, for the people who I see in the chat that are saying that you don't have a village, like Kylan said, let us be your village. We also have something called Discord. It is off of TikTok, not on the TikTok app. And basically, it's just like a chat session where you can vent. You can share your good things, your bad things, ask questions. We have a lot of people on there that have older kids, younger kids, like all types of people in there from all over the world that can maybe provide you either information to services that you may not know of, or just to support you. We really, really do support each other. It is a positive space, just like here. No judgments. We don't judge anybody. Like Kylan said, we laugh, we cry, we do all of the things together. So that you know you're not alone. And if you have a problem with Discord, because for some reason, I don't know what is going on with Discord. I've heard a lot of other lives say that they've been having issues with Discord too. If you send me a private message, I can redo the link for you and I can get you into the Discord. I've done it successfully. I don't know, maybe like 20 times. I don't even know at this point. I stopped counting. So if you need help with Discord, let us be your village and come on over and enjoy.
Yes. Amazing. Thank you so much.
That's
Lexi.
awesome.
I appreciate your help with that, and I appreciate the moderators. Just feel free to follow. Make sure that you find me tomorrow. This is going to conclude our live today, but thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Tomorrow. Bye.